Hi, aspiring authors. Do you have a topic that you are passionate about, that you want to validate people's stories and shed a light and help people? I'm Jennifer, the traveling publisher, and it's my pleasure to be here today with my friend, Roxy Johnson, who has done just that with her amazing book, Forgotten in the Battle with Sexual Addiction. Hi, Roxy, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Jennifer.
Thank you so much for being here. You are such a light. I was so looking forward to talking to you today because you have such a warmth and a compassion, and it's just a pleasure. So, thank you for joining me to talk about your story and your book.
Well, thank you.
Thank
So, would you like me to dig in, or do you have a question you want to start with?
Absolutely. So I first would just love to ask you, what were your goals in creating this book? How did you get the idea and why did you write this amazing book?
Well, you know, um, I started writing this over 10 years ago, but I put it away. And I think a lot of that was so that I could continue to heal
Oh.
and that there was no lingering bitterness or animosity in me because I believe that healing is a spiritual journey.
Mm-hmm.
And so if my book had animosity, then that would be felt by someone else trying to heal, and that wouldn't help. But one of the reasons why I took out the book years later is because I kept hearing the same stories of spouses being married to sex addicts, and they wouldn't always call them that because there's a lot of um, vacillating in the industry about what to call this situation.
Okay.
Okay, but what I realized is that there was either a couple of responses. There was staying isolated and
Mm-hmm.
not knowing where to turn for help,
Yeah.
um, staying quiet about what had happened and then just divorcing, no
Oh, wow.
questions
No
asked.
questions asked. Oh my.
Uh-huh. And and then I saw a lot of bitterness as well. And what I wanted to do with this book, because it's kind of applicable to a spouse in any relationship with any addiction,
And
but
that's what I want to point out. The subtitle that is The Journey of a Spouse. So that's what's so unique about this book.
yeah, but what I did is I wanted to validate
Hmm.
the experience of spouses, especially with this addiction, because there is help. There are ways and resources and communities for support. They don't have to stay isolated, and with God's help, they can heal and recover their purpose and their inner peace and their happiness. And
Wow.
so I wanted to shine a light that that journey can and does happen all the time, especially for the spouse that might feel backed into a corner and ashamed of searching for resources.
That makes sense, exactly. And I think that while your book is applicable, right, to any addiction, tell me a little bit about this addiction in particular and the challenges of sexual addiction in particular.
Well, it is a new addiction. Behavioral addictions were only added to what's called the DSM-5 in 2013.
No kidding. In
No kidding.
2013, that's like a blink
And
of an eye ago.
yes, and
Wow.
so you have the fact that it's new, the fact that
Mhm.
it's shameful, and then you have the billion-dollar industry of porn fighting against the facts that this addiction is playing havoc with our families.
So they would like us to believe that this isn't a problem?
Yes. and um but uh so you have all of that, and you have a portion of the population who doesn't believe that porn addiction is wrong. But the problem
Hmm.
is that sexual addiction is just like any other addiction. There's a range, and it's a
Oh,
progressive
sure.
illness. And so if it's not dealt with at point A,
Right, right.
it can go to point B and point C. And that's where it absolutely destroys lives and families and so forth. And a lot of times it's so shameful for the spouse that they get caught up in coping skills that are not helping them, and
Exactly.
they start to spiral downward as well. And so my book, I have both a marriage that recovered and a marriage that didn't recover.
Wow. So
One,
you are an expert in that you have lived through both sides of this. That's
right, and I'm
profound.
old.
That's you're not old. You're
I am.
fantastic. That's profound, though, that you've lived through both experiences.
Yeah, and so I there's no retribution to my husband with sexual addiction. He has passed away of heart disease.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
And I just, I'm a writer by profession. And so I just decided maybe I could do a great service by just spelling out this journey, because it's not linear. It
No.
goes up and down, and
Yeah.
and it's a long journey. And but I went through everything I learned in those 10 plus years that we went to meetings, that we helped other couples, that we helped other spouses and other addicted people. And I go through it with honesty, not in a way of this is what you do,
Mhm.
but this was my journey. I think the only thing that I'm adamant about is you need your higher power by your side.
Yeah, yeah, with something like this. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I made my heart glow when you said I am a writer. You are an outstanding writer. This is a fascinating, very, very, very well-written book. And you have that wonderful balance of being expert and articulate, but warm and compassionate. And that's hard. And so how much of your story do you balance? You balance your story, but also information that you researched. How did you find that balance?
Well, and that's the balance is because I wrote federal grants. And so I was used to
Oh,
working in research. So that's kind of
that's
something I
you.
love as well. And I wanted to give context
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
to what these people will experience, because when I was in those first stages of recovery and my life had blown to pieces and my identity was affected and my sense of worth was affected, and I really didn't think that I would ever be happy again. One of the things that helped me was to understand the context
Wow.
of the addiction and to understand what had happened to me. When I went through this, they didn't have the term betrayal trauma.
No kidding. And let's take a minute and think about that because that's really powerful. Betrayal trauma. And I think a lot of our viewers might not have heard of that. Can you describe a little bit what does that mean?
Betrayal trauma is in a technical source is when in a relationship that you depend on,
Mhm.
either emotionally, financially, spiritually, or for your subsistence, like
Okay.
a parent child, a marriage, those intimate relationships,
Mhm.
when they betray you in some way.
Oh,
and
wow.
and the reality is that these marriages, these relationships, are betrayed at several levels. They're often betrayed physically,
Mm-hmm.
they're betrayed financially, because they're usually are huge financial costs to this addiction.
Wow.
Um, and they're betrayed socially.
Oh, of course, because your relationships are damaged, right? You're
Right. And they're betrayed just on that intimate trust ability.
That makes
And
sense.
so that's why betrayal trauma is is the buzzword, is it kind of sums up all that happens to a spouse.
It does. And so, can you share a little bit about, you mentioned a little bit about maybe some signs or some things that you noticed. Is there anything you might be able to share how this played out in your experience?
Well, you know, I I could see that things were changing in my marriage.
Oh,
This
wow.
was 24 years into a marriage with 4 children.
24
Ve-
years into the
Yeah,
marriage. 24,
yeah.
like, and wow, is it because the world changed? Do you think it was, or there was,
No, and this is part of what helped me understand my husband's addiction is he was introduced to porn and masturbation when he was a very, very young person.
uh-huh.
And he knew he felt shameful about it, but he hid it.
Right, right.
And so, like I say, it, the addiction is on, it's a progressive illness.
Mhm.
And addiction, one of my favorite definitions is it's the inability to handle intense emotion.
Oh,
And
wow.
so,
Wow, that's really interesting. I have never heard it put that way. So addiction is the inability to handle intense emotion, and that's what compels someone to do something because they can't handle.
right, they go to substance or behaviors as coping mechanisms.
Interesting.
And
Wow.
and so the ironical and cruel reality was that I got very ill.
Oh
I
my.
had complications from a simple surgery,
Oh no.
and that's what was the impetus for my husband's secretive porn use
Wow.
to begin acting out, it's called, on a physical level. And so um, all of this is helpful to the spouse knowing and understanding these things. And they can now do these functional MRIs
Really?
where they know that sexual addiction, pornography addiction, whatever you want to call it, does the same thing to a brain that opioids
No
do.
kidding. That is absolutely, absolutely incredible. And
Isn't it?
is it only doing those things to an addicted person, or does it do those things to any person? Do you know? Like, has any a norm, regular non-addicted people been studied?
You know what? That part I would have
I
to defer
wonder.
to someone
Yeah, so someone
more
out there who's
qualified.
watching us, please like a comment because we would love to know. So that is fascinating. So what a powerful draw that must be. And now you have someone who's feeling shameful, right? And doesn't want their spouse to know. So what were some signs you noticed he was becoming secretive? What would you recommend people watch for?
Well, um, actually, and I want to say one more thing. Part of the problem and part of why I have compassion for the addicted is we live in an over-sexualized world.
We do, that's for sure. We're
And
constantly
so
bombarded
it's on every corner. It's
on
on
every
every
corner.
click.
It's
And
every
so
commercial. Mm-hmm.
um
Every show.
I I
Remember,
want to
remember,
have I want
sorry,
to have compassion for those who
absolutely.
struggle with this.
Remember when we were
Okay?
growing up, Roxy, and in TV, they wouldn't show two people in the same bed, or they would have to have their
Uh-huh.
arms above the covers, right?
I
Now,
know.
my goodness, middle of the day, you flip on TV, and so yes,
Yeah.
we're bombarded. You're absolutely right. So
Yeah.
I think it's amazing and a tribute to you as a person that you can say that I'm able to have compassion for the thing that blew up your life.
Yeah. And that took a lot of years.
Yeah, yeah. And how did actually writing your book help with that? Did you find it to be cathartic?
Um, kind of, but I had gone through
You
so
had.
much.
You had healed before.
Yes, and I had lost my husband. So in some ways it as I wrote, I understood even more and I was glad for the progress. I have always been grateful to him that he dug in and
Yeah.
sought recovery because it is a Herculean effort. But
Amazing.
but back to your question about what I saw, ironically, what I saw was just his behavior became irrational
Ooh.
and he started misusing substance.
Oh, wow.
So when I initially thought his problem was substance,
Sure, sure.
but I found out that he was trying to numb his self-loathing
Oh, wow.
and um so what I would tell spouses who might suspect this is trust your gut
Trust your gut.
and um especially if you know on an internal level that there's deceit of some kind going on.
And also, this
Um,
could be any relationship, right? This could be a friend, this could be a sibling, this could be a child. So, how do you have that conversation, Roxy? Do you have any suggestion?
I would be just very
Very
direct and
direct.
just say, are you having a problem?
Wow.
Are you struggling with this? Because asking something like that might actually relieve them.
Good point.
Uh-huh. And then as the spouse, I would encourage you to get help to read books like
Read
mine
books like this one. Exactly.
so
Link in the
you
description.
understand your own responses and the that is one of the main purposes of my book is to express that no matter what your addicted spouse or partner chooses, you can heal and there's happiness for you. And
That's
that's why I bring up I was raised in an alcoholic home, so addiction behaviors were normalized for me,
wow.
and other readers might identify with that because, in a lot of ways, we are very prone to picking addicts as spouses,
Because it's so
and it can
normalized.
explain it. But I also, like I says, I have the marriage that recovered, and I have a marriage that didn't. And I put how I learned and how I coped and how I was able to recover my own happiness and worth in both situations.
That's tremendous. And that's what's so powerful. You are phenomenal that you were able to recover from both of those situations. Can you share some of the strategies that you have used?
Oh boy, there's some of the hardest battles um, that I've fought in this life, Jennifer. But most programs, and I agree,
Mhm.
is that you need education. You need to
Yeah.
understand what you're fighting. You need good, competent therapy.
Oh,
And what I mean by that is it's not enough to have a marriage therapist.
oh,
Most of the time, addicts can be so good at deceit that a normal therapist won't catch it. And you need someone who is very aware of addiction and what it can do for both the spouse and the addicted person.
mhm.
You need a community.
Oh,
Now, lots of people can find that in their church community. Um, I didn't find that in mine, and I tell that journey.
yeah.
I continued worshiping, but
Hmm.
I couldn't find safety there. So I found 12-step groups.
That's
Okay.
wonderful.
But presently, I have a dear friend that she couldn't find a 12-step group that was exactly what she needed, and she created her own.
Wow, that's tremendous. That is
Yes, so
tremendous.
I give all that. So,
Yeah,
like I says,
that's
education, competent therapy, community, and a spiritual awakening.
spiritual awakening.
And and I was a believer before, but what this did is it helped me really believe that I had to believe that God really cared about me
Oh, wow. Yeah.
because in certain times, my higher power was all I had.
Wow. Absolutely. Because this impacted everything, right? This impacted your
Yes,
relationships. This impacted. And so something you had shared with me that I thought was really profound is that you and your husband actually became helpers, right? Of
yes.
other people. Can you share a little bit about that and how that helped?
Well, it reminds you of what you've struggled against, so it motivates you to continue to work on it. But it's also very fulfilling because you know the pain.
Hmm.
And so both of us were involved with our 12-step groups and we sponsored people. We did training for clergy in our area. And
That,
we also, for many years, we facilitated what was called a crosstalk marriage group,
ooh, what's that
where
about? That's interesting.
yeah, it was it, and we had participated in the group as part of our marriage healing, and that's why we were so dedicated to helping facilitate it. But we would have a recovery topic every week,
Oh,
and we would ask for someone to volunteer a disagreement on that topic.
well, that must have been interesting.
And it's so helpful because you're talking in real time about real issues and about real people. And so everyone in the group gets really close.
That's wonderful. That's
And
wonderful.
yeah, and it's very powerful.
That's incredible. And so tell me a little bit about what does recovery look like? What did recovery look like for you and what did recovery look like for your husband?
Recovery is a forward thinking process.
Okay.
And I personally think we ought to teach 12 steps in schools
I personally
because
think, let's get rid of calculus and trigonometry and let's talk about that. I agree with you completely.
it's a process that helps you identify coping skills that are not helpful,
Oh,
and
wow.
it
Okay.
helps you to look at yourself and what you can do with your higher power to move forward in healthy ways.
Well, that makes so much sense when you consider the way you defined addiction a little bit ago. Addiction as, and I might bungle these words, so please correct me. Addiction as, go ahead. You say
The
say something.
inability to handle intense emotions.
Right. So you have this attention motion, you don't know how to handle it, so you turn to the addiction. So I think I
Huh?
understand you're saying you're finding healthy coping skills. So
Yes,
what are
and for
some things?
the
Yeah.
spouse might um, turn to unhealthy coping skills that are
Yeah.
in the fight or flight
Yeah.
category.
Oh, like eating, right? Overeating,
Eating, manipulation, telling half
manipulation.
truths, just trying to keep the peace, being
Yes.
afraid of coming out and being direct about an issue. And so the spouse gets into um, bad habits as well.
Roxy, that was so valuable what you just said because I don't know that people think of those as coping skills, but they are, right? If you're dialing back, hiding your emotions, telling half truths, you're trying to cope with something in an unhealthy
Right.
way. So, what are some coping skills then that you and your husband developed that worked?
Well, and a lot of them, I give tools in the book,
Good, 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 good,
simple
good.
tools that
Absolutely.
we used as a couple and that I used as an individual. But I more than the actual tools, maybe I can explain
Yeah.
um, the big picture.
Hmm.
So someone who struggles with this addiction will likely have to work at healthy behaviors
Yeah.
the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Okay. And the spouse who works recovery
Hmm.
with their addicted spouse will understand that.
Sure.
Okay. And so we all have triggers. We all have, and what I mean by triggers is we all have things that kind of affect us emotionally, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So my husband was a heart patient
Oh, yes.
and he was put on a heart transplant list.
Oh,
And so he had the last several years of his life, he had access to opioids. We were constantly in, out of hospitals where there was nurses touching him.
oh boy.
And so we were immersed into an environment that was triggering in some regards.
Mhm.
And what the healthy coping skills allowed is for us both to take care of ourselves. In other words, if I came in and I saw something that felt inappropriate,
Mhm.
if I came
Mhm.
into his room, I would, and I wasn't in a good frame of mind, I would I would be able to say, I need a minute.
Oh, good.
I would leave the situation, compose myself, and then we had established a healthy enough relationship where I could come back and say, can we talk about this? Can we set a time to talk about this? We both knew that we could not use shaming words. Both
Mhm.
knew that all we could do was say how we felt and what we saw.
Mhm.
And we both knew that we both were um, responsible to be honest.
Oh, I love that. Responsible to be honest. So we showed how we felt, what we saw, and we were responsible to be honest. Wouldn't the world be a
Right,
better place if everybody did that all the time,
right.
Roxy? Those were
And on
my.
top of that was the overarching commitment to our relationship.
Oh, I love that. And how did that transpire? Was that a conversation you had, or was that just something you felt?
The overarching
Right,
relationship
to decide
commitment,
to decide that commitment. Like, was that something that
that
evolved, or is that a
that
conscious
was, yes,
choice?
that was something that was grown
Wow.
one step at a time when trust was reestablished.
That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. Wow.
And and so that's what those healthy coping skills allow, is they allow two people to come together with the knowledge that both of them are committed to the relationship and committed to the well-being of each other, and they have tools to keep their conversation um, honest,
Hmm.
humble, and accountable.
Honest, humble, and accountable. That is really fascinating. Honest, humble, and accountable. And now you mentioned 12-step program. Did you go to a particular 12-step program for sexual addiction, or can one go to any 12-step program?
We did,
You did.
and actually, there are 12-step programs popping up for sexual addiction across the nation, um,
Nice.
because it is more of an isolated addiction that has some of its own tendencies. And
Okay.
even the AA program,
Hmm.
which is international, which is where we started,
Okay.
um, they recognize, so there's GA, Gambling Anonymous,
Okay.
there's NA, Narcotics Anonymous, there's all sorts of A's, and
Hmm.
there is SA.
Okay.
Um, we gravitated eventually to what's called SA Lifeline.
Ooh, what makes that different?
There was just a few
Okay.
differences. Um, and in I think in large measure at that point in our recovery, we were good friends with the founders of that foundation.
Oh, that's
And so that was
beautiful.
that was a draw.
I
And
feel so.
so what I would say is, especially to the spouses, is find programs, give it 6 weeks. If you do not feel a connection, find another program,
Oh, that's
because
wonderful.
not all programs are for you. You're not going to resonate in all meetings or programs. So find the one that works for you and your spouse if they're willing to work on healing.
Well, here's an interesting question. What if they are not? What if they are not interested in helping on healing? What does the spouse do then?
You get yourself into recovery, and by following these four pillars:
Hmm.
education, community, um, good therapy, and a spiritual awakening. And that will allow you to make the next right decision.
I love that. The next
I
right
I
decision.
didn't commit to staying in this marriage for almost 3 years.
Wow.
And that's because I wasn't, this experience actually raised the bar for what I wanted in a marriage,
Wow. That's
because
phenomenal.
this work let me know that marriage is precious and you can have good marriages.
Oh, that's so tremendous to hear. That is something, I think that is a message that is not heard much in our society. Marriage is precious and you can have a good marriage. That's really amazing for you to say after all that you've been through. What do you see, Roxy? I know you've done so much research for your book. Are there any trends you're seeing, any changes in this field of sexual addiction?
Mostly that it's just being acknowledged to a
Good, good.
large degree. And what you have is you have a lot of people that have fought this addiction, and they've gone to school, and so they are opening up their own therapies
Oh,
and
wow.
therapy organizations and building programs. One of the reasons why I wrote this book as just a person,
Hmm.
I did that on purpose, is because I don't want to say this is your path.
That.
I want to say, I want to tell what my journey was like, and I
Hmm.
want to give options,
Oh,
because I do believe that if you want to heal, and that you and if you bring your higher power along on that journey, you will be guided to the programs and the options that will work for you.
that makes sense. And I'm so, so comforted to hear that there are an increasing number of programs, increasing awareness, because, right, sometimes the first step is understanding, right? Actually, is that the first step? Understanding is a problem. I
I
think that's
think
the
the
first
first
step.
step is accepting that this is what
Accepting
has
that this is
happened.
what has happened.
Yeah.
That's
And
amazing.
and the spousal resources are lagging far behind.
I can imagine because, well, it feels like when your partner has an issue, it is always your issue. But when your partner has this issue, it feels like it would be really, right? This is really rocking your world. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
So
And
those
that is, yeah, that's precisely why a spouse needs some help.
And that is why your book, which is The Journey of a Spouse, Forgotten in the Battle, and the subtitle says it all, guidance for spouses and those who support them. So that's tremendous. And I think anybody who's watching this, Roxy, can tell that you are so articulate and poised and smart. Can you share a little bit about your heart to speak? You like to speak, right?
I do. I've actually started speaking in multiple types of venues, because my heart is in this to help people. Not, it's not just the book, it's that I want to raise awareness. And I also, with raising awareness, often comes the peeling back of that shame onion, so that people so that it's okay to stand up and say, yes, this happened to me and I need help.
That's amazing. And your courage in validating people's stories and helping to make people feel comfortable sharing with you is so inspiring. And so, thank you so much for talking with me, Roxy. Do you have any goals or any wishes for the future to share?
Just just the goal to help one person at a time. Uh, I I love this work because I fall in love with the people who are taking this journey.
That's amazing. And you have literally created the light to help them learn and grow and heal. And I'm so inspired by you. Thank you so much, Roxy, for taking this time to
Well,
talk.
thank you for talking to me
Thank
because
you.
because it is a hard topic to
It is
talk about.
it is a hard topic. And but you know, if we don't talk about these hard topics, they never get any easier. And so every time someone like you has the courage to share, our world gets a little better. So thank you for being such a beautiful, amazing soul, Roxy. Thank you so much for talking. And thank you, friends, for watching. Please, please check out the resources I'm going to put below. Please check out Roxy's awesome book, Forgotten in the Battle. And please, please like and subscribe for more. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Thanks. Bye.